Hey, it's Jordan. I am here at Bookie's Bar and Grill in Detroit. It's the Bernie Sanders debate watch party. 15 minutes before the debate. You got a lot of people. Ty and I could barely get a seat. You got parents with young kids. You got young people, older people. They're all happy. The wall shows it all. Green New Deal. You got Green New Deal, Medicare for all, Labor for Bernie. Obviously Bernie with the LGBTQ flag. Let's check it out. You guys feeling good about Bernie tonight? Okay. I want to ask you quick. The corporate media is making it very much that Bernie has to fight for his life tonight. Supposedly Elizabeth Warren has taken the lead, I hear, on CNN, even though every poll indicates otherwise. What are you hoping to see tonight? Do you want to see Bernie a little bit more aggressive than last time?
I do, but not toward Elizabeth. I don't think this is the time for that. But I would love to see him be more aggressive against centrists and stating his case maybe in a more animated way. I believe in his policies, but I think that, he's got to come out and really give us something tonight.
And there's also this notion that CNN keeps spinning that, the moderates in the Midwest won't go for him. Well, if the moderates in the Midwest were deciding among the election, wouldn't Hillary Clinton be president? She was a moderate candidate.
Yeah, that's it exactly. These people that want to vote for Biden just blow my mind. They say they want to vote for him because they want someone who's going to win, and that doesn't make any sense.
How you feeling before the debate? Because I hear the corporate media says Bernie is kind of losing his ground to Elizabeth Warren. I don't see that in any of the polls. But you want Bernie to be more aggressive tonight? What do you want to see?
Well, knowing Bernie, he's going to be polite and follow the rules of whatever the debate moderators ask him to do. But I think his message is pretty clear. I think all of us are very on board, and I think that we do a really good job of being activists and getting his message out for him because we believe so strongly in what he stands for and all of his platforms. He's not taking any money from the corporations, and he's a people's candidate.
I'd like to.
If he wants to win Michigan, though, he has to talk about Flint water. He has to say Flint still does not have clean water.
Preach!
Well, they don't. It's 2.5 years later. They don't have clean water. We need a candidate that's going to campaign here, and he has to mention that.
I don't care if he's more aggressive or he's not aggressive. The facts are the facts. And the people who support Warren and all the other people like Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, they're going to present the facts in their twisted way anyway. So it doesn't really matter. That's the way I see it.
What about you folks?
Well, I think that this is the second debate. There's going to be about 12 of them. I think right now there's a good opportunity for Sanders and Warren to to draw a contrast between themselves and the moderates, the centrists, the establishment. And I think that's what they ought to do. They ought to take this time to do that when they've got all these other, all these moderate centrist establishment folks up there. And then, in subsequent debates, they'll have plenty of time to differentiate themselves. I would like to see him more aggressively go after, the Pete Buttigiegs and the other centrists and corporatist shills on the stage.
Michigan heard the daughter of NAFTA and pro-TTP Clinton and either didn't vote for that or stayed home. And we can't have that again. Michigan isn't stupid. Michigan isn't going to fall for that stuff. And if we go for another centrist corporatist, people will stay home in droves, but even worse, we will lose young voters forever. The Democratic Party will lose young voters in perpetuity.
Well, this is my dad. He is a 60-some-year-old working-class white guy in Michigan. But those can't be at a Bernie watch party, right?
Dad, are you here with your own will?
Oh, yeah, sure. Bernie won Michigan last time. I just want to make that clear. So, yeah, Bernie can win again.
And the media keeps saying that the Michigan voters, the blue-collar worker, wants a centrist moderate. I don't know if that's the case. Why isn't Hillary Clinton president?
I think that speaks to Hillary in volume, her personality.
We like Elizabeth Warren. We don't like her foreign policy. We don't like that she wavers on Medicare for all. But most of all, we need a people-powered movement that says that capitalism is the problem with this country, and Bernie Sanders is the only candidate that is addressing that problem.
He needs some zingers in the debate, because we were talking about people that aren't necessarily fully engaged, but just maybe watch the highlights. They want some zingers that they know, okay, this person can take on the current president and win. So we need to get people with the highlights for people that aren't necessarily fully engaged and like we are watching every moment.
What would be your best zinger?
Oh, good question.
If Medicare for All is enacted, there are more than 600,000 union members here in Michigan who would be forced to give up their private health care plans. Now, I understand that it would provide universal coverage, but can you guarantee those union members that the benefits under Medicare for All will be as good as the benefits that their representatives, their union reps, fought hard to negotiate?
Well, two things. They will be better because Medicare for All is comprehensive. It covers all health care needs for senior citizens. It will finally include dental care, hearing aids, and eyeglasses.
But you don't know
Second
that.
of all,
You don't know that,
Second
Bernie.
of all,
We'll come to you in a second,
I do know, and
Congressman.
I wrote the damn bill. Under Medicare for All, the hospitals will save substantial sums of money because they're not going to be spending a fortune doing billing and the other bureaucratic things that they have to do today.
I've done the
Second
math,
of
it
all,
doesn't add up.
maybe you did that and made money off of health care, but our job is to run a nonprofit health care system.
Congressman Delaney just referred to it as bad policy, and previously he has called the idea political suicide that will just get President Trump reelected. What do you say to Congressman Delaney?
You're wrong. 5 minutes away from here, John, is a country. It's called Canada. They guarantee health care to every man, woman, and child as a human right. They spend half of what we spend. And by the way, when you end up in a hospital in Canada, you come out with no bill at all. Health care is a human right, not a privilege. I believe that. I will fight for that. What I am talking about, and others up here are talking about, is no deductibles and no co-payments. And Jake, your question is a Republican talking point. At the end of the day, and by the way, the healthcare industry will be advertising tonight on this program.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Warren, it's your turn.
Oh, can I complete that, please?
Your time is up,
They
30
will be
seconds.
advertising tonight with that talking point.
The basic profit model of an insurance company is taking as much money as you can in premiums and pay out as little as possible in health care coverage. That is not working
Thank
for
you.
Americans across this country.
Thank you, Senator.
Medicare for All will fix that, and that's why
Thank you,
I'll fight
Senator.
for it.
The issue of gun safety, of course, is that the NRA has us in a chokehold. But so do the pharmaceutical companies, so do the health insurance companies, so do the fossil fuel companies, and so do the defense contractors. And none of this will change until we either pass a constitutional amendment or pass legislation that establishes public funding for federal campaigns. But for politicians, including my fellow candidates, who themselves have taken tens of thousands and in some cases hundreds of thousands of dollars from these same corporate donors, to think that they now have the moral authority to say, we're going to take them on, I don't think the Democratic Party should be surprised that so many Americans believe yada, yada, yada. It is time for us to start over with people who have not taken donations from any of these corporations.
So I think Democrats win when we run on real solutions, not impossible promises. When we run on things that are workable, not fairy tale economics. Look at the story of Detroit, this amazing city that we're in. This city is turning around because the government and the private sector are working well together. That has to be our model going forward. Do it.
You know, I don't understand why anybody goes to all the trouble of running for president of the United States just to talk about what we really can't do and shouldn't fight for.
Senator Warren.
He talks about solutions that are workable. We have tried the solution of Medicare, Medicaid, and private insurance. And what have the private insurance companies done? They've sucked billions of dollars out of our healthcare system. They've made everybody fill out dozens and dozens of forms. Why? Not because they're trying to track your health care. They just want one more excuse to say no.
I get a little bit tired of Democrats afraid of big ideas. Republicans are not afraid of big ideas. They could give $1 trillion in tax breaks to billionaires and profitable corporations. They could bail out the crooks on Wall Street. So please don't tell me that we cannot take on the fossil fuel industry and nothing happens unless we do that.
My response on the Flint water crisis is that Flint is just the tip of the iceberg. I was recently in Denmark, South Carolina, where there is a lot of talk about it being the next Flint. We have an administration that has gutted the Clean Water Act. We have communities, particularly communities of color and disadvantaged communities all over this country, who are suffering from environmental injustice. I assure you, I lived in Grosse Pointe. What happened in Flint would not have happened in Grosse Pointe. This is part of the dark underbelly of American society. The racism, the bigotry, and the entire conversation that we're having here tonight, if you think any of this wonkiness is going to deal with this dark psychic force of the collectivized hatred that this president is bringing up in this country, then I'm afraid that the Democrats are going to see some very dark days. We need to say it like it is. It's bigger than Flint. It's all over this country. It's particularly people of color. It's particularly people who do not have the money to fight back. And if the Democrats don't start saying it, then why would those people feel that they're there for us? And if those people don't feel it, they won't vote for us, and Donald Trump will win.
Ms. Williamson, many of your opponents support a commission to study the issue of reparations for slavery. But you are calling for up to $500 billion in financial assistance. What makes you qualified to determine how much is owed in reparations?
Well, first of all, it's not $500 billion in financial assistance. It's $500 billion, $200 to $500 billion, payment of a debt that is owed. That is what reparations is. People heal when there's some deep truth-telling. We need to recognize that when it comes to the economic gap between blacks and whites in America, it does come from a great injustice that has never been dealt with. That great injustice has had to do with the fact that there was 250 years of slavery, followed by another 100 years of domestic terrorism. What makes me qualified to say $200 to $500 billion? I'll tell you what makes me qualified. If you did the math of the 40 acres and a mule, given that there was 4 to 5 million slaves at the end of the Civil War, there were 4 to 5, and they were all promised 40 acres and a mule for every family of 4. If you did the math today, it would be trillions of dollars. And I believe that anything less than $100 billion is an insult, and I believe that $200 to $500 billion is politically feasible today because so many Americans realize there is an injustice that continues to form a toxicity underneath the surface, an emotional turbulence that only reparations
thank you very much. Senator Sanders.
And I've heard some people here tonight, I almost wonder why you're Democrats. You seem to think there's something wrong about using the instruments of government to help people. That is what government should do. All policy should help people thrive.
Hey, it's Jordan. I am live. I'm live here in Detroit from Bookies Bar and Grill. The CNN debate just ended. We're here on the rooftop of Bookies Bar. The first debate, he was kind of like just monitoring and observing, and it seems like he finally came to like a knife fight holding a knife.
Absolutely. I'm really excited by what I saw in this debate. So my name's Will. I'm from Tucson, Arizona. I basically became politically active because of Bernie's run in 2016. I'm now part of the Sunrise Movement, which is a climate activist group, but I'm also supporting Bernie for 2020. And I think, so to answer your question about the debate, I do think his first debate was a little lackluster. You know, not everyone's perfect every time, but I thought he was amazing. And I also thought the takeaway from this debate is this debate was a win for the progressive movement.
Bernie was aggressive, and I liked that line especially. Like, yeah, I mean, to call out like that is like at the root of so much of what this issue we're talking about, but then also be like, and they're going to be advertising on this network later tonight. I haven't heard him roll that quite that hard before, so I thought that was cool.
Bernie came out exactly how he's supposed to come out. He came out with the fire tonight. He came out, Claus came out, shutting people down, shutting Delaney down, Tim Ryan down. All of them got shut down with that.
I wrote the damn bill.
I wrote the damn bill, damn it. You know, with that. I mean, he really came out. This is what he should have done the first debate. And frankly, in subsequent debates as well with that. I mean, this is exactly what he should do. Warren did well as well, but Bernie by far was the standout candidate. And that doesn't say the framing of a lot of the questions, frankly, within the CNN polls. Like, for example, is Senator Sanders too extreme, you know, for that, comparing him to Trump on foreign policy and stuff like that.
When I see Bernie and Warren next to each other, it's not that I have a disdain for Warren. She's better than Trump. She's better than Biden. She's better than Harris. But I see someone who sounds very good to academics, who sounds very good in terms of the way she articulates, but I don't see someone that I trust is going to fight as hard for the things that she's saying. What are your thoughts on the difference?
I share the same thoughts, as well with that. Look, I don't have this. There's a lot of people on the left who have like a lot of vigor towards Senator Warren. I don't have that same vigor, but I will say this: between Senator Sanders and Senator Warren, with that respect, I mean, it's clear that Senator Sanders is the one who's more likely going to fight. I mean, it's even talking about, like, for example, the student loan issue. You know, Bernie's just saying, just cancel all that. Cancel all that shit. Get rid of it all with that. I have student loans. I went to regular college, grad school, all that. I got a lot of debt. Get rid of all of that. She's all saying, like, this 95%. No, like, it's just like, just get rid of all. Like, why stop there? Go all the way with that. And here's the thing with Senator Sanders, with Bernie Sanders. He fights. He is someone who has a million volunteers and growing with them. I'm sure it's going to increase more after this with that. Senator Warren, she has supporters. I'm not trying to downplay what she has. She has been doing well in the polls. Some better than Bernie. I mean, that's just to be straight up with that. But Bernie Sanders has a record and has shown that in this debate alone, that he's willing to actually fight. He's willing to kowtow the establishment that continuously beats him down. I mean, this debate is not proof of that alone. I don't know what else he has to prove in that respect.
What'd you think of Marianne Williamson?
I think she did well. You know what? I think she did well. You know, the reparations issue, on reparations, she's by far the standout. She comes out ahead on that issue by alone. I mean, I do a lot of work with restorative justice, and just the frame within that is actually important. It's, you know, it's restoring the harm that was done with that. That's the whole crux of reparation by itself. So I feel Bernie on investing in communities, the whole Jim Clyburn. That's all fine and dandy, but the fact of the matter is that doesn't address the actual harm that's been done.
Bernie's still not explaining Medicare for All the right way. So they're intentionally framing it as a middle-class tax increase, right? So an increase is when something goes up, right? So I hate to borrow from a really, really terrible person, but if Bernie has to borrow Karl Rove's chalkboard, you put, here's $10,000 in tax increases on the left, right? Here's the $15,000 in what you and your family pay in health care premiums. You pay that $15,000 for money they take out of your paycheck for health care, co-pays, deductibles, co-insurance, hidden bills that come. So you got $15,000 up here. What is that? Is that a tax? Or it's called premiums, co-pays, and co-insurance. It's a tax. $10,000 down here is the tax increase, okay? If the $15,000 goes away and you're left with the $10,000, is that a tax increase or is that a tax cut? I'm not a campaign strategist. This is free advice. But stop allowing them to frame it as an increase. Yes. It's your plan. You have to explain how they're going to save money. But if you're saying the average family is going to save $4,000 to $5,000, stop saying, oh, they're going to save money on healthcare. No, they're going to save money total. Yes. Total. So you got $10,000 here in increases, $15,000 gone. That's a tax cut. Yes. And I don't understand why they're not describing it that way, because that's the truth. Because if you allow them to frame it as a middle-class tax increase, you're dead in the water.
Out front tonight, chaos at the White House. President Trump's deputy chief of staff, his communications director, is
just because of their connection to President Trump. And I know you've been saying...
We learned recently that Donald Trump threatened to sue his former schools if...
Tired of hearing about Trump 24/7? Become a member at statuscoup.com for only $10 a month. Click the notification. With your help, we can start the media revolution.
And before Bernie went on stage, I spoke with his supporters online here, and you really get that feeling from